All right, if this is true, this is massive news for Lord of the Rings fans. BBC News reported today that at the upcoming Universal UK theme park, there will be spaces set aside for James Bond, Paddington, and the big one, Lord of the Rings. Now, I'm going to catch you up to speed on all the news, what we can deduce from the bits of information that we have inside, and why there might be a little bit of cause for skepticism about it. So let's get to it. So it was previously reported that Universal UK, this is a new theme park coming to the UK, they bought a 476-acre plot of land near Bedford. Now, that's 57 miles or 91 kilometers north of London. It's about, from my research, about 40 minutes to an hour if you take the train to get there. Now, if you're wondering how this compares size-wise to some existing Universal parks that we know of, the brand new Epic Universe in Orlando, it's 110 acres for the park itself and 750 acres for the entire development. Pretty massive. Now, the other Universal Orlando parks, if you've ever been to those, that's Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, Volcano Bay. Those, from what I could tell online, total for all three of those is 541 acres. So while Universal UK isn't as massive as Epic Universe, it seems to be a pretty good sized park for them to work with there. Now, you may remember me talking about this in previous videos because I just love theme parks, and I think immersive theme parks are just super, super cool. So like Harry Potter World is like the gold standard in my eyes. Like it's just like you're stepping into that world. I think something like that for Middle Earth would be really, really cool. But in previous videos, you might remember me talking about the potential at Lord of the Rings at Epic Universal. It's the big, shiny new park opening in May, and it's kind of getting previews and first glimpses. Looks really cool. But there's a 20-acre expansion pad there that is rumored to be set aside for another Harry Potter-sized IP. And so a lot of people have been guessing maybe that could be Lord of the Rings. So I don't know, that's not part of this news, but maybe this is opening the door and maybe we do get that expansion Epic Universe. I'd be really, really pumped about that. But the news that we are focusing on today, it is reported by BBC. They claim that Lord of the Rings will be coming to Universal UK, and it'll be alongside properties like James Bond and Paddington. And I think Paddington makes a lot of sense. Like, that's very child-friendly. Those are super charming, like books and movies, super charming. James Bond, I've never been a big James Bond guy, so I don't know what the broad appeal is like there. To me, that seems much lower on the pecking order than Lord of the Rings, personally. But this article goes on to say that it's too early to know what attractions will be at the park, but interestingly, it says there will be no Harry Potter attractions at this park. And it even points this out a bit in the article, but this is probably because there's already things in the UK close by, like near London, there's the Warner Brothers Harry Potter Studio Tour, which is really cool. I've been there a couple times. It's really cool. But they probably don't want those attractions competing, I guess, for the Harry Potter fans. They might see that as competition, and there's probably some, contractual things at play there. So maybe that's, who knows, that barrier may be, overcome later down the road. But as of right now, they're saying no Harry Potter here. Now, all this information is coming to a source close to the project, and the source insists, they say that the source insists contracts have been signed and it's unlikely things would change. And this is where the source gives a specific example mentioning Lord of the Rings. They say, at this point, it will be little details they tweak, like, let's use a different shade of paint on that Lord of the Rings castle. Now, I immediately wonder, what castle? Like, what are you talking about? They don't refer to buildings in Lord of the Rings as castles, but whatever. I think this could just be like a passing example. Like someone off the top of their head just said, oh, let's change the shade of the castle on Lord of the Rings. Harry Potter has castles. That's frame of reference, whatever. If this were taken at face value, like if we really thought about the term castle, some of the structures that would come to mind would be things like Helm's Deep, Isengard, Barad-dûr, maybe even Minas Tirith. I could see, someone interpreting that as castle-like. But personally, as I think through those options, I think it's pretty unlikely we see an entire land themed after evil Lord of the Rings characters and locations. Given kind of the family-friendly nature of theme parks and kind of the warm fuzzies we all get from Lord of the Rings and like thinking about those films and the world and the books and everything, I think a place like Rivendell, Minas Tirith, like I mentioned, or even the Shire, I feel like those are much more likely locations for you to be like whisked into from Lord of the Rings. So for now, I'm just kind of chalking up the use of the word castle and changing the color of it as kind of like a top of mind reference that this person gave to suggest that they're just making small tweaks at this point. Now, it's worth noting that, while I take BBC reporting much more seriously than like a random Reddit post where someone is like, trust me, bro, this is the news kind of thing, I have noticed a couple things with this article that kind of give me pause and make me wonder, is this solid or not? Obviously, this is an anonymous source, but one that BBC says is close to the project. And I noticed they didn't use the term allegedly close to the project. Like, it seems like there's some validity here that BBC has backed this up and actually knows that this person is close to the project. But one thing I've noticed is that the headline for this article has actually changed a couple times just as I was typing up a few quick notes and started recording this video. Initially, the headline was James Bond, Paddington, and Lord of the Rings set for Universal UK. Okay, cool deal. We're in business. We're getting those three things at Universal UK, right? But then the headline changed to Bond and Paddington set to star at Universal Park. So Lord of the Rings seems to have been dropped from the headline, which seems kind of odd. I mean, I'm probably biased, admittedly, but I feel like Lord of the Rings is the headliner of those three. Like, nothing against Bond or Paddington, but I feel like Lord of the Rings is on a whole other level, personally. Finally, as of this moment, as I'm recording this, the headline says, Bond and Paddington could star at Universal Park. So I don't know about you, but this feels like a little bit of hedging on this. I mean, the language goes from like, this is set to they could star. So like now I'm wondering, like, are all three properties like kind of up in the air? I don't know. I mean, Lord of the Rings is still mentioned. Like the body of the article has not changed from what I can tell. But I do wonder, like, why is the headline changing? And why is Lord of the Rings taken out of the headline? Like that's an attention grabber. Why would that not be in the headline anymore? And it just goes to show, I think, that you can never be fully sure on things like this. Even with a reputable source like BBC, you can't be sure until a press release of some kind materializes and there's official news. Personally, I gotta say, I really hope this happens, though. I think it would be super cool to have this in the UK. I mean, I've really, really been holding out for news that Lord of the Rings would be coming to Epic Universe. Like I said in that expansion pad, I just think it would be awesome. So cool to have a Lord of the Rings attraction here in the US. I know, there's Tolkien fans everywhere. But I know, the US is a big Tolkien fan place. There's, obviously UK is a big Tolkien fan place. So I just think having more options spread around would be really cool. And having one here in the US where there's a good sized population and a good sized Tolkien fan base would be really, really cool. Obviously, it'd be super cool to have it in the UK as well. Like, I'm just as pumped about this. Just last week, I released my video where I was touring filming locations of Lord of the Rings in New Zealand, and you can check that out if you're interested. And I realized, like, as amazing as that was, that is a huge trip for a lot of people to take, from up here in the Northern Hemisphere. So having things a bit closer, whether that's in the UK or the US, I think would be really cool. It'd be just a massive draw. And honestly, I think the best case scenario would be if we do get this park at Universal UK and also get one at Epic Universe in Orlando. I mean, imagine if there's two different ones, and they're completely different areas of Middle Earth, so not just repeating the same thing, but maybe one of them gets Rivendell, like they have Rivendell in the UK and they have Minas Tirith in the US, or whatever Middle Earth locations they end up going with. It would be so cool to have multiple bucket list places to visit. So that pretty much covers this news. I'm obviously going to be keeping a close watch on this and definitely be informing you guys if there's any developments, if there's anything official that comes out. Needless to say, as a theme park fan and as a big fan of immersive experiences, this news really excites me. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I think there's an interesting conversation to be had with Tolkien and theme parks and like his views and stuff. I want to get into that, but I think we need a longer dedicated video for that topic. But I am super, super pumped, and I would greatly look forward to this if it happened. But what do you guys think? Do you like the idea of a Lord of the Ring theme park? Do you think this news is legit? Like, are you counting any chickens right now? And would you make the trip if a Lord of the Rings theme park popped up in the US or the UK? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of this news, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.